Good morning and welcome to Unity Spiritual Center RGV Sunday morning online service experience. We welcome you here today. Unity is a positive path for spiritual living. We are love-based and all-inclusive. If you'd like to learn more about Unity, I welcome you to visit our website, unityrgv.org, or the central website, which is unity.org. There you will find many resources to help you in your spiritual unfolding. It is a very unusually cold weekend here in deep South Texas this weekend. So you all be careful out there driving around because it looks like we're going to get some slick roads and stuff, but we'll get through it and take care of your plants best you can. But there's too many to take care of outside right now. We'll just we'll leave them in the light of spirit and hope that they come through just fine. Anyway, once again, welcome to Unity, and I hope you enjoy today's service. The announcements for today are that the classes are continuing on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Let's Get Metaphysical. Thursday, 6:30, the ARE group meets. And at 8 o'clock, the collaborative meditation. The South Texas, well, it's more than South Texas, it's a little bit more. But anyway, it's a Unity collaborative meditation meets at 8 p.m. on Thursday evenings. I invite you to join all classes or any one of them that you wish. The links can be found on the website or the newsletter. And once again, that's pretty much it. Well, there's one other thing. The board will be meeting soon, and we're going to start trying to come up with some sort of a guideline about reopening. Not that we're reopening anytime in the next couple of months or so, because there's still a lot of cases in Hidalgo County, even though in general things are kind of coming down. And I hope you've gotten your vaccines or are trying to get them, because that's probably going to be one of the requirements, I'll tell you up front, of coming back into service. I've got mine, and several of us have gotten ours, so I hope you take the opportunity to get your vaccine. It'll be for your good and for the good of everybody. Anyway, we will talk more about that once we've had the meeting. I will let you know what's going on with that. That's pretty much all our announcements for today. I would like to begin today's service with Unity Invocation, which is shared around all the Unity churches in the United States as well as throughout the world. There is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. As you probably know, this is the first week of the Lent season, and the Lent is the 40 days before Easter. It marks that time of preparation where we begin the time when we are really turning inward and begin looking at things anew, from a new mind, from a transformed mind, in our resurrection of our way of seeing things. And this is the pamphlet that for this Lent season is called Release and Renew. And I'm going to read a few examples of what we in Unity, how we in Unity see the Lent season. And it's not about giving up material things, which is not a bad thing. And I advise some of them are good things to give up material things, physical things, from bad habits and things like that. That's a good thing. But this is even better, because this is about our spiritual and emotional unfolding, giving up things that no longer serve us, that are holding us down spiritually or mentally. And so let me read you a few examples of what that might sound like to you. I release any belief in limitation. I renew my sense of possibility. I release a habit of judging others. I renew my commitment to see the divine in all beings. I release all doubt and indecision. I renew my divine power of wisdom. I release negative thinking. I renew my positive expectations. I release discontent. I renew my gratitude in all things. I release apathy. I renew my zeal and enthusiasm. I release the fear of lack. I renew my awareness of abundance in my life. I release any sense of worry. I renew my faith in divine order. I release thoughts of competition. I renew my willingness to cooperate. I release any need to complain. I renew my outlook through appreciation. I release old feelings of bitterness. I renew inner peace by forgiving. I release feeling stuck. I renew my will to take the next step forward. I release any feelings of hostility. I renew my practice of non-resistance. I release thoughts of illness. I renew my openness to the healing power of spirit. I release anger. I renew my patience. I release any sense of discouragement. I renew my hope with the power of affirmative prayer. I release my darkest fears. I renew the strength and courage of my heart. I release feelings of loneliness. I renew my connection with spirit, self, and others. I release problems that seem to overwhelm me. I renew my understanding of my spiritual nature. I release the shadows of sorrow. I renew myself in the serenity of silence. Those are some examples that we can meditate upon. And during the next 40 days, I will be sharing some thoughts from this pamphlet with you. Let's begin today's service now. Unity RGV Affirmation and Vision. Unity Spiritual Center RGV is an expanding center of the Christ light, mighty to attract its good and radiate good to others. Centered in God, we express the indwelling Christ.
As we start this time of inner reflection, let's begin by getting comfortable. Remove all objects from your lap. Place your feet on the floor and sit up comfortably in your chair. Relax the muscles in your face, shoulders, arms, hands, and fingers. Feel your hips, legs, feet, and toes relax as well. Relax any areas of tension you feel in your body. Take a deep, centering breath. Slowly inhale, gently hold for a few seconds, and then slowly exhale. Repeat a few times. Focus on your inhalation and exhalation as you continue to relax your body. Gently breathe in and out. Just relax and breathe naturally. You now feel the increased sense of relaxation to your body with every breath. Feel calmness and peace wash over you. Now let's center our attention to the daily word for today, which is heart expression. Our Bible verse is from John 13:34 and reads, I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. Today's affirmation is, you are dear to me. I hold you in my heart. Let's say that together once. You are dear to me. I hold you in my heart. Our message reads, sharing love is a wonderful way of discovering and responding to the divinity alive in every heart, binding us as a human family. My loving nature helps me to see the best in every person whose life touches mine. Today I remember one of the legends of St. Valentine, in which he fashioned pieces of parchment into hearts, which he gave to others as tokens of his compassion and God's love. Today the tradition continues when I say, you are dear to me, I hold you in my heart, with a card, gift, call, or a simple act of kindness. I share love with no expectation of reciprocation, and my heart welcomes every expression of love from others. Love's energy grows through both giving and receiving. Now let's close our eyes and take these words and this affirmation into the silence.
I love the silence down in my soul. I love the silence down in my soul. And the whole wide world is my home. I've got a new day down in my soul. I've got a new day down in my soul. I've got a new day down in my soul. And the whole wide world is my home.
Hello, friends. Today we're concluding our series of lessons on the 12 powers of the spiritual human being. This series consists of 4 lessons, each covering 3 of the 12 powers. The 12 powers are expressions of the divine power inherent in each of us. And the 12 powers are divine ideas, meaning that they are eternal vibrational structures or thought structures within divine mind, which is another name for God. Because they're eternal and already existent, we don't have to try to awaken them. We only have to access them through our own consciousness. And we do this by turning within and accessing the indwelling Christ, the individualized presence of God within us. The Christ is the overriding divine idea that contains all other divine ideas, including the 12 powers. The 12 powers are the avenue through which God expresses as a spiritual being in human form. So, in many ways, it's the operation of the 12 powers in, as, and through us that make us human beings. The 12 powers are love, imagination, power, judgment, understanding, zeal, elimination, faith, life, order, will, and strength. The 3 powers we're discussing today are zeal, elimination, and life. So we'll just go ahead and get started with the first of the powers we're discussing today, which is zeal, also called enthusiasm. And Simon the Canaanian represents zeal. His center is at the medulla, at the base of the brain. And that's from the 12 Powers by Charles and Cora Fillmore. Zeal is the great universal force that impels humankind to spring forward in a field of endeavor and accomplish the seemingly miraculous. That's from the Atom-Smashing Power of Mind by Charles Fillmore. Zeal is the mighty force that incites the winds, the tides, the storms. It urges the planet on its course and spurs the ant to great exertion. You know, ants have a lot of zeal. To be without zeal is to be without the zest of living. Zeal and enthusiasm incite to glorious achievement in every aim and idea that the mind conceives. Zeal is the impulse to go forward, the urge behind all things. That's also from the 12 Powers. The highest expression of zeal is an unflagging, fervent interest in knowing, speaking, and doing good. That's the highest expression. Zeal, of course, can take on a lot of forms, and zeal or enthusiasm can be applied to enterprises that are not necessarily good. But the highest expression of zeal is that unflagging, fervent interest in knowing, speaking, and doing good. Understanding and wisdom, two other of the 12 powers, help to temper zeal so that its enthusiasm and intensity are directed to grow spiritually and express the Christ nature. And that's from Heart-Centered Metaphysics, a deeper look at unity teachings by Reverend Paul Hasselbeck. So those are some of the key aspects of zeal. Zeal is that enthusiasm, that impulse to act, and when it's tempered by understanding and love, then it is directed toward the good, the expression of the good. So that's the power of zeal. The next power we're going to be discussing today is the power of elimination. And this is also called renunciation. Now, this is a power and an activity that can be misunderstood. So we need to take a look at what we mean by renunciation or elimination in the sense of something that helps us on our spiritual growth. People have faculties of elimination as well as appropriation. If you know how to handle them, you can expel error from your thought body. The denial apostle is Thaddeus, presiding in the abdominal region, the great renunciator of the mind and the body. And that's from the 12 powers. And so when we use the word denial here, we're not talking about trying to pretend that something doesn't exist. The word denial here also means renunciation or elimination, and it means the elimination or the expulsion of negative and limiting beliefs from our consciousness, renunciating those things to make way for the good. In the Revealing Word, Charles Fillmore defines renunciation as a letting go of old thoughts in order that new thoughts may find a place in consciousness. A healthy state of mind is attained when the thinker willingly lets go of the old thoughts and takes on the new. This is illustrated by the inlet and outlet of a pool of water from the Revealing Word. And of course, if you have a pool of water that has only an inlet and no outlet, what happens is that the water stagnates in the pool and undesirable substances build up in it. So you need that outlet. You need that outlet on the other end so that the old water can flow out and the new pure water can flow in. And it's the same thing with our consciousness. Thoughts that we've held on to for decades, or if we go with reincarnation, centuries, that are holding us back and denying us the ability to express good, need to be eliminated and renunciated. Elimination, then, is the faculty by which we release false beliefs and accomplish a mental cleansing. Elimination enables us to surrender to our inner spirit any thought that is not for our highest good, so that transformation and purification of consciousness can take place. I think that last sentence bears repeating. Elimination enables us to surrender to our inner spirit any thought that is not for our highest good. So we're surrendering thoughts that do not promote our highest good to our inner spirit so that it can cleanse us of those thoughts. And as a result of that, transformation and purification of consciousness can take place. And that's what the Apostle Paul was referring to when he said, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." The renewing of your mind is just another way of saying the purification of your mind. And so it's through this renunciation then that we undergo the purification that we need to undergo in order to allow the Christ to manifest through us in a full and complete way, so that we're seeing only good, we're speaking only good, we're doing only good, and we are creating only good. So we've seen zeal, which is the forward driving impulse, that enthusiasm and excitement that gives us energy and enables us to create things that are expressions of good. And we've seen the power of elimination, which allows us to remove from our consciousness anything that might stand in the way of that impulse toward good. And that brings us to the final power we're discussing today, and the final power that we're discussing out of all the 12 powers, which is the power of life. Now, it's very interesting who represents life, because, biblically, each of the 12 powers is represented by one of the 12 disciples. And each disciple sort of has characteristics that appear within the biblical stories that relate to the power that he represents. Interestingly, the power of life is represented by Judas. Now, we might think of Judas as being anti-life, because it was Judas's betrayal, of course, which resulted in Jesus Christ, having to go to the cross and be crucified. But, as we all know, what the crucifixion really achieved was the revelation of eternal life, and the demonstration that life cannot be overcome by death, that really death is just a transformation, and that life continues, and the individual soul survives the death of the body. So it was Judas's actions that led to that revelation of the true nature, the eternal nature of life. So that's one reason why it's not so unfitting that Judas represents life. Judas, who betrayed Jesus, has his throne in the generative center, and Judas governs the life consciousness in the body. That's from the 12 powers. Life is that expression of being which manifests as animation, activity, vigor. Life and substance are ideas in divine mind. Life is the acting principle, and substance is the thing acted upon. Substance is that living energy out of which everything is made. But even though substance is a living energy, it is not active on its own accord. It acts only in response to the ideas that are projected into it. In the phenomenal world, life is the energy that propels all forms to action. So a form is just a thing that exists out in the world. But what makes things active is that principle of life, that presence of the animating agent within them. And that's what life is. Life is not in itself intelligent. And all we have to do is look around us at living things and how they behave to see that life is not in itself intelligent. It requires the directive power of an entity that knows where and how to apply its force in order to get the best results. Now, what might that entity be that applies its force in order to get the force of life in order to get the best results? Well, that entity is the human being, or the spiritual being in human form. And we can only know how to get the best results by activating all of the other 12 powers in concert with the power of life. And that's from the revealing word. Now, from the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, we get a further explanation of why it is that Judas Iscariot, who was the betrayer of Jesus, is the disciple that represents life. Judas Iscariot is the custodian of life. This Judas represents the unredeemed life forces. So Judas in the Bible represents the unredeemed life forces. Now, this is Charles Fillmore writing here. So what does he mean by unredeemed life forces? Well, he simply means life forces that are not in alignment with absolute good. Life forces that are not being guided by love, understanding, wisdom, by the Christ, the indwelling Christ. So life can be active without that guidance, and in that case it's unredeemed. So that's what Judas represents. He also typifies that in humanity, which, though it has caught the higher vision of life, still resorts to underhanded methods in order to meet its obligations. In other words, when we try to pursue life activity, again, out of alignment with the ideals of absolute good, and we're proceeding in a way that's not honest and straightforward and ethical and respectful of the rights and feelings of all beings, then we're allowing life to express through us in an underhanded way, in a way that's not in alignment with good and is therefore unredeemed. Judas, you may recall, carried the money bag, and he betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. The first steps in our redeeming the Judas faculty, and that brings us to this question, is why or what can we do in order to redeem this life force and bring it into alignment with good? Charles Fillmore says the first step in our redeeming the Judas faculty is to assume a fearless attitude of mind, affirming our unity with the spirit of purity. So affirming that we are expressions of absolute good, and determining once and for all that we will only allow our life energy to express in ways that promote and enhance and express the good. When we do this, the Lord answers, "Thou hast said," meaning as you say it, so it's going to be. And the redeeming, uplifting, transmuting forces are set into operation. When the Judas faculty reaches the spiritual standard of life, it is known as Judah, whose office is praise and thanksgiving. Praise and thanksgiving call into activity greater expressions of spiritual substance and open larger avenues through which we may receive spiritual life. Praise radiates and gives glory to the latent powers of man. So Charles Fillmore pretty pointedly brings to our attention that a powerful way of bringing that life force, that life power into alignment with the good is through praise and thanksgiving for everything in our lives that we have to be thankful for. Anything that we praise and give thanks for is amplified and multiplied and made stronger and expanded in our lives. Judas represents the power of life, and as we said before, it's located in the generative center, and it is the faculty of movement, vitality, wholeness, and creativity. It is the expression of the pure, eternal life of divine mind within consciousness. Life, much like the faculty of love, is indiscriminate and requires direction. When it is directed from sense consciousness, it degenerates into seeking to satisfy the senses only. When the faculties of wisdom, understanding, and judgment direct it, it enhances one's spiritual life. and that's from heart-centered metaphysics. So those are the three powers then of zeal, elimination, and life. And those are the last three of the 12 powers that we are examining in this series. And in closing, what I would like to do is share with you 3 affirmations taken from heart-centered metaphysics that can aid us in accessing and allowing to express through us these 3 spiritual powers. So I would invite you to close your eyes, and I'm going to recite these affirmations slowly, giving spaces for you to repeat them either silently to yourself, or I guess since we're on Zoom, it could be aloud. Either way you want to do it, whatever works best for you. So let's close our eyes and we'll begin. I claim my power of zeal now. I am passionate and enthusiastic about divine ideas. I claim my power of zeal now. I am passionate and enthusiastic about divine ideas. I claim my power of elimination now. I deny and eliminate any limiting beliefs, ideas, thoughts, feelings, and attitudes. I claim my power of elimination now. I deny and eliminate any limiting beliefs, ideas, thoughts, feelings, and attitudes. I claim my power of life now. I vitalize and energize all that I think and do based on divine ideas. I claim my power of life now. I vitalize and energize all that I think and do based on divine ideas. And so it is. And so now we can once again open our eyes, and it's my sincere hope that these lessons on the 12 powers have helped us all to understand them a little bit better, to understand how to allow them to express through us under the guidance of the indwelling Christ, so that as they manifest, we truly are human beings that are expressing our spiritual nature and bringing more good into visible manifestation in the physical world. God bless you.
Thank you, Michael, for that wonderful lesson. Now comes a time when we offer our tithes and our gifts to our spiritual community so that we may continue the work that we do to share the message of unity, which is simply love and forgiveness and cooperation and joy and harmony and peace. All the fruits of the Spirit. That's all we're here to do. It's really very simple. So we thank you for your offerings because, as you know, it is what keeps us going. Not only that, but the giving and the receiving practice is a give and take in the universal flow of things. So it's a good thing too. That's why it's written that as you give, so you shall receive, because it's a circle. And so we welcome you to join in that circle. So we take our tithes in our hands and we say, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Everything I see, everything I do is blessed by your hand, God. I'll give it back to you. Everything I give, every thought that's true is magnified in kind, God. I'll give it back to you. Once again, thank you for joining us in today's service. I hope you enjoyed the experience, and we certainly welcome you to come join us when we get back together, whenever that is. And the time is getting closer because it's starting to turn around slowly, at least nationally. Here in the Valley, where, like I said, we're still a little bit bogged down by new cases. But as more and more people get vaccines, that will start to turn and things will start changing quicker and quicker. So hopefully, sooner than later, we will be able to get back together. We shall see. In the meantime, let's close with our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Have a blessed week and get your vaccine first chance you get. 3